Hey everyone, and welcome back. So many of you have been asking about this, and I gotta say, I'm pretty stoked to dig into this too. We're talking about how brands can build those really strong, lasting relationships with their customers. And we're not just talking about getting someone to buy something once, we're talking about turning them into, like, loyal fans.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it builds on what a lot of brands are already trying to do with customer experience, CX.
Right.
They've got the personalized stuff down, they're on all the different channels. But CLX, or Customer Lifecycle Experience,
Yeah.
asks, what's next? How do you take it further?
So it's kind of like, okay, you nailed the first date. Now, how do you turn that into a lifetime of happiness? Right.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And just like building any strong relationship, it takes time, effort. You got to be in it for the long haul. It's not about quick wins like just making a sale. It's about seeing the value a customer brings over the entire relationship, over their lifetime.
Okay, I'm with you so far, but how do you actually make that happen? Where do you even begin?
Well, I think it's important to realize that a lot of brands are already on the right track with CX. They're using things like, those personalized recommendations.
Oh, yeah, you mean like the eerily accurate suggestions that pop up online?
Exactly. Or they're working hard to create a consistent experience for customers, whether they're, on the website, in the store, scrolling through an app.
Right, so they're meeting the customer wherever they are, making them feel seen, heard, understood.
Exactly.
But then how does CLX take all of that even further?
It uses all those insights, all those interactions you're having to build something deeper and more meaningful over the long term. So it's not just that the brand knows what you bought, it's that they can anticipate what you might need in the future.
So, my favorite coffee shop app that already has my usual order memorized will remind me to grab a drink for my coworker who likes the same thing.
Exactly. That's the kind of thing we're talking about.
See, now that's just good service. Okay, so how do companies actually pull that off? Is there some kind of secret CLX playbook they're all using?
Well, not a playbook exactly, but there are some key things that make a CLX strategy really successful. Our research points to three main areas. First, choosing the right MarTech stack.
MarTech stack. Now that sounds kind of intimidating.
It's just short for marketing technology. And it's not about having the latest, shiniest tools. It's about choosing tech that is flexible, that can change and adapt, and that can work with your other systems.
So, if my tech is a bunch of Lego blocks, I want to be able to swap pieces in and out without having to rebuild the whole thing every time.
Exactly. That kind of agility is really important, especially now when things change so fast. And that brings us to the second area, using data and analytics. But not just for the surface stuff, not just to personalize a little bit. We're talking about uncovering those really deep insights that help you in the long run.
So, less about what I bought last week and more about what I'll probably want or need a year from now.
Precisely. Imagine your favorite clothing store, the one that totally gets your style. What if they sent you a discount on a jacket right when the weather starts to turn? Or maybe, based on what you've been looking at, they suggest some outfits for that event you've been Googling.
Okay, that's pretty smart. But let's be honest, sometimes those personalized recommendations can be a little creepy, like Big Brother is watching my every move. Where's the line between helpful and intrusive?
That's where transparency and control are really important.
Mm.
Companies have to be open about how they're using data, and they have to give people a choice. Customers should be able to opt out or change their preferences. It's about building trust.
It's about remembering that there's a real person on the other side of that data point, right? But with all this talk about data and predictions, how does this actually work in the real world? Is it all just fancy algorithms and software?
Technology is a huge part of it, yeah, but it also takes a real shift-in mindset. You have to move away from just thinking about each transaction and think about building actual relationships.
Okay, building relationships, I like the sound of that, but what does that actually look like in business? What are some things companies can actually do to embrace this CLX way of thinking?
Well, it starts with understanding the customer journey,
Mm.
but not as a straight line to a purchase. It's more like an ongoing loop where each interaction builds on the last one. And this is where the third key area comes in, using technology, specifically something called a digital experience platform. It's often shortened to DXP.
DXP, okay, now you've totally lost me.
Think of it like the central nervous system of your customer experience.
Okay.
It brings together all your data, all your content, all the insights to deliver those really personalized, you get me moments that build a real connection. No matter how or where a customer is interacting with your brand, it makes sure they have a unified, consistent experience.
So it's like a single source of truth, for all your customer data. And you can use that to create these incredibly personalized experiences in real time.
Exactly. A well-integrated DXP, powered by AI and machine learning, can change content based on what the customer's doing right that second, predict what they need before they even know they need it, and deliver the kind of experiences that turn casual buyers into, diehard fans.
This is all making a lot more sense now, but I have to ask, with all this technology, all this data, are we losing something? Are we losing that human touch, that genuine connection?
That is so important, and it's something we can't forget as we go further into this world of CLX. Technology is a powerful tool, but at the end of the day, it is just a tool.
So how do we find that balance? How do we use all this amazing technology but not lose that human element that makes customers feel valued?
It's about remembering that we're trying to build real relationships, human connections, not just, automate every interaction. Tech should make those connections stronger, more meaningful.
So it's less about replacing human interaction and more about enhancing it. Use tech to create those wow moments that make a customer think, hey, there's a real person behind this who gets me.
Exactly. Think about it. You walk into your favorite bookstore, and the owner, the one who knows all about what you like to read, they greet you by name, maybe recommend a book based on what you've bought before. That's a great experience.
The best. It makes you feel like, you're valued, you're more than just a sale.
That's it. And that's what CLX is all about, bringing that level of personal attention, but on a bigger scale, using technology to make it happen.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So it's not just about the tech itself, it's about creating a culture where everyone in the company is focused on the customer.
Exactly. Every single person from the CEO down to the person on the front lines has to understand how important it is to build those strong, lasting relationships with customers.
So how do you create that kind of culture? Is there a magic formula to make everyone obsessed with customer happiness?
Well, no magic formula, but it starts at the top. When leaders make customer experience a priority, when they empower their employees to do the same, it trickles down through the whole organization.
It's like they say, actions speak louder than words.
For sure. You got to walk the walk. It has to be clear that the customer is at the center of everything.
So you can't just tell your employees to be more customer-centric. You have to actually give them the tools to do it, the resources, the freedom to make decisions.
Exactly. And that means training, open communication between departments, having a system to get feedback from customers and actually do something with it.
It's about always trying to improve, always looking for ways to make the experience better.
Yeah. And making sure everyone feels like they can go above and beyond for the customer.
So we've talked about the what of CLX, the why. But now, how do you actually do it? If a company's hearing this and they're ready to dive in, what are the actual steps?
Well, you got to start with really understanding your customers. And I don't just mean their demographics or what they bought once.
Yeah.
It's about their needs, what motivates them, what problems they're trying to solve.
So going deeper, beyond the basic data points, to figure out what makes them tick.
Right. You want that complete picture of who your customer is, what their journey looks like, so you can see where you can add value at every step.
Okay, so you've done your homework, you get your customers, then what?
Then you map out their journey. Figure out all the different ways they interact with your brand, online and offline.
So we're talking all the touch points, from the very first time they hear about you to everything that happens after they buy something.
Exactly. And you're looking for places to make that journey smoother, to get rid of anything that makes it frustrating or difficult for them.
So make it as easy and enjoyable as possible for customers to connect with your brand no matter what.
Precisely. And that's where the right technology can make all the difference. Companies can use tools and platforms to create a seamless experience across all channels: the website, the app, social media, even in-person interactions.
So meet the customer where they are. Don't make them fit into some rigid system.
Right. And that level of personalization, that ability to respond to what each customer needs, that's what makes CLX so different.
This all makes sense, but I imagine it can feel pretty overwhelming. Where do you even start?
It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. Start small, maybe pick one thing you want to improve, and build from there.
Don't try to do everything at once. Experiment, learn as you go.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to get help. There are experts, consultants, tech companies, agencies that specialize in this that can help you get started.
This has been so helpful. Now, for those companies who are doing this well, who are really embracing CLX, what kind of results are they seeing? What's the payoff for building these deeper customer relationships?
The results are seriously impressive. We're talking companies seeing big increases in things like customer lifetime value, how long they keep customers, and brand advocacy, people becoming fans and telling their friends.
Okay, but like how big are we talking? Small improvements or like real game changers?
Think about, say, a company that does those subscription boxes, right? They've been having trouble keeping people signed up, but they start using this CLX approach, personalized recommendations, really on top of customer service, building a sense of community. Suddenly people aren't canceling as much.
Because they're actually getting what they want, so they stick around longer.
Exactly. And that means more value per customer over time, more predictable revenue.
So it's not just about getting new customers, it's about making the ones you have happy so they stay with you. But it's got to be more than just numbers, right? There's got to be some feel-good stuff, too, about building these relationships.
Totally. When customers feel like you get them, they're more likely to become like walk-in billboards for your brand, telling everyone they know.
Free advertising, turning your happiest customers into your best salespeople.
Exactly. And that kind of word of mouth, that's gold. It brings in new customers, it grows your reach.
We've covered a ton about CLX today, understanding the customer journey, the tech, building those strong relationships. But I want to go back to something you mentioned before about customer feedback. Seems like that's super important for this whole thing to work.
Absolutely. If you're not listening to your customers, finding out what they think, you're missing a huge piece. And you got to actually use that feedback to make things better.
So how do you actually do that? What are some good ways to collect that feedback and, more importantly, make it mean something?
Make it easy for people to tell you what they think. Give them lots of ways to do it. Surveys, online reviews, on social media, even just an email address.
Meet them where they are. Make it simple.
Right. But then you can't just collect that feedback and do nothing with it. You got to close the loop. Address their concerns, let them know you heard them, you take them seriously.
It shows them you're really listening, that you care about their experience.
And when they feel heard, they trust you more, they're more loyal.
This has been a really eye-opening conversation. Our listeners have got a lot to think about how they can use all this in their own businesses.
I hope so. It's exciting stuff. It's about building those deeper connections with customers.
This is definitely a topic we're going to have to revisit down the line. A huge thank you to our expert for breaking it all down for us.
Happy to be here. Always fun to talk about this stuff.
And to all of you listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into customer lifecycle experience. Until next time, keep those questions coming.